There is two ways how you can get artifacts in Call of Dragons. One is Universal Artifact Compendium, which you can spin at the end of the every single KVK, which you can get a lot of new artifacts, but for the free-to-play players, there is only one main way how you can get artifacts. That's normal draws, right? Artifact draws where you need to have a 10 keys to open 10 books, so maybe you will get lucky or not. So in order for you guys to understand, mainly free-to-play players, when you kinda have to be happy and when not, depending on artifact you're gonna get, today I'm gonna speak directly about every single artifact, how you can use them, and what's the best case scenario, right? First artifact, which I think I'm gonna speak about, is Deathless Vines, the new artifact. I kinda newest artifact for normal draws, right? In terms of this artifact, I really like the HP buff for any single troop type in the game, and I think these kind of defensive buffs are really good, especially for infantry, right? In terms of skill, well, it's pretty unique skill. It's immobilizing up to 3 enemy and digested circle for 5 seconds, which means they are kind of rooted for 5 seconds, and grants shelter up to 2 surrounding friendly legions, including your own, for 10 seconds. Shelter means that you're gonna get 20% defense, right? And I think this artifact is one of the best artifacts you can actually get from here for infantry, especially, right? Because I think in general, infantry's artifacts are mainly good. Which ones are more defensive than offensive? Because if you're gonna equip your infantry with the offensive artifact, I think your infantry is going to die really soon. So basically, Deathless Wine, if you are going to get Deathless Wine in with your normal draws, especially for a free-to-play player, I think you should be really happy because you got one of the best infantry artifacts you can actually get from here, right? And besides that, I think you can actually equip Deathless Wines with like every single infantry hero pair. Doesn't really matter if the infantry is synergistic with the shield or I don't know, more damage. I think Deathless Wine will work with every single hero pair, especially for infantry, right? Because this is the infantry artifact. Basically, you can use this one especially during wars because I think immobilizing in like 3 enemies is perfect. Imagine you're gonna immobilize infantry, cavalry, archers, or mages. I think in all of the situation you're gonna have a perfect moment because your friendly legions, your alliance members, are going to destroy the enemy legions which are immobilized, right? Let's not really took too much time for Deathless One. I think this is the one of the best artifacts you can get for infantry players, right? And let's speak about more infantry player artifacts, right? Fang of Ashkari, the next one, right? Besides that, I think until we got the Deathless Wine, I think Fang of Ashkari was the best artifact from here. But the unique thing about Fang of Ashkari is that it's all-arounder, which means you can equip Fang of Ashkari with every single troop type, and I think the benefits will be great with all of them, right? So main idea of Fang of Ashkari is defensive artifact. Unfortunately, the skill of this artifact is melee range, which means you kinda need your enemies to come closer to you, so you're gonna deal damage. It's like a circle around your hero pair, which is dealing damage in like every 2 seconds, up to 4 enemy legions. And the unique thing about this skill is that damage type is physical and magic, right? There is nothing really important and unique about the skill of Fang of Ashkari, but I think the uniqueness of this artifact is the defensive stats, right? It doesn't say that it gives infantry defense or mage defense or archer defense, right? It says legion defense, which means every single troop type which this artifact will be equipped, everybody will get the defensive bonuses. And I think in general, this artifact can be used with mages, with archers, with infantry, and even with cavalry, right? Well, I think cavalry less likely, but I'm totally honest that you can use Fang of Ashkari with archers, with infantry, and with mages. So basically, if we're gonna compare, Deathless Wine is better because Deathless Wine's skill is more unique. But in terms of pure stats, I think Fang of Ashkari is nice, right? So if you're gonna get Fang of Ashkari with your normal draws, I think you kinda have to be really happy because this amount of defensive stats are just too much, right? And one more important thing, in general, the Thunder Shadow is not really effective during PvP, so you don't even have to have the high level on your skill. even one level Fang of Ashkari in terms of like star will be great, right? Not star, like in general. Whenever you don't need to have level 2 Thunder Shadow or level 3 or level 4 or level 5. Even level 1 Thunder Shadow with these buffs is just great to use. The next artifact, which is for the infantry again, is of course Spring of Silence. Well, if you heard me saying that, in my opinion, the offensive infantry artifacts are not good, at least currently in the game, right? Maybe in the future the different heroes will be coming out and the new heroes will be great with infantry offensive artifacts, but right now I think infantry's main job is to be as tanky as possible. So I think the infantry unit attack and legion attack doesn't really give us the tankiness which is needed for infantry hero pairs to be effective, right? If we're gonna speak about the fleeting beauty, the skill for this artifact, well, of course, you are dealing a lot of damage. On level 5, you are dealing damage to 3 enemies, and the physical damage type with 3.2k damage, and plus some slow. 60% slow is quite a lot, but honestly, the simple reason that this artifact is offensive with almost no defensive stats, if we weren't gonna mention damage taken minus 5%, I think you won't gonna be really happy if you are getting Spring of Silence. It's much better to use Fang of Ashkari or Deathless Vines, right? Let's not stop here. Let's go and let's speak about another infantry artifact, which is Dragonrift, right? Dragonrift is yet another offensive artifact for infantry players, infantry unit attack, legion attack, but unfortunately, we still don't have infantry offensive meta, but hopefully in near future we're gonna have way more, right? In terms of skill, Dragon Hammer deals damage to selected legion, physical damage, damage factor 4000, and actually this skill is quite interesting, right? If this skill defeats the target, your legion gains physical keen 32% for 6 seconds, which is quite a lot. If this skill doesn't defeat target, then the target gains bleed, deals damage every second for 3 seconds. Damage factor 350. So if we're gonna compare Dragonrift with Spring of Silence, I think Dragonrift is more unique. So if we're gonna compare these two artifacts, I think Dragonrift is better. But overall, yet again, I will mention it one more time, Dragonrift is offensive artifact, and for infantry hero pairs, infantry playstyle, I'm not sure how important it is to have high percentages of attack on your artifact as an infantry player. That's why I wouldn't be so happy if I got Dragonrift, but it's way better than Spring of Silence in my opinion, right? So mainly, well, maybe you are having fun with the infantry offensive gameplay, but not for me, and that's my honest review, right? The next one which I want to speak is Phoenix Eye, right? And I can truly say Phoenix Eye is the best mage artifact from here, and I will say it even more. I think Phoenix Eye is one of the best artifacts which you can get from the normal draws, and especially if you are mage player, you have to be super happy if you got Phoenix Eye, right? And even pay to win player, even if you are not mage player, I think you kind of want to have this artifact, because I think the skill and the legion attack, magic unit attack, everything about this artifact is great. Of course, in terms of burst strike, the skill of this artifact, it might not be that shiny like additional stats or bonuses, but it's already nice because it deals damage to 4 enemy legions, or with the maximum level it deals damage to 5 enemy legions, which is really a lot, and the damage factor is 4000, right, which is quite good. Of course, the Phoenix Eye doesn't really have a lot of buffs, lot of bonuses like other artifacts, but it's normal, it's basic mage artifact, which is great, right? Of course, there is like other mage artifacts which you can't get from normal pools, but with the normal pools, which we can see here, I think Phoenix Eye is one of the best artifact out of here in general, right? So if you have Phoenix Eye, especially if you will be able to level up your burst strike, because it's actually worth it. Only on level 5 you're gonna deal damage to 5 enemy legions. If not level 5, you're gonna deal 4. So it's really important to upgrade these levels of the burst strike. And remember, you should be really happy if you got Phoenix Eye in your arsenal. The next artifact which I want to speak is, of course, Heart of Kamasi, right? The artifact for archers. You might say, marksman, you need defense, legion defense, not that important attributes for archers, which I will honestly agree, but in this case, this is really unique case, right? Because if we're gonna just stop looking at the attributes and we're gonna check the Earth Judgment, which is the skill of this artifact, you guys will understand that this artifact is not really defensive artifact. Physical keen 30%, normal attack damage 30%, duration 10 seconds, and not only for your legion but 2 legions at the same time. This is the amount of buffs which is super amazing, especially for archer players, right? And if we're gonna get this amount of offensive buffs with the defensive attributes, this artifact is just perfect, right? I'm using Heart of Kamasi on Magrot and Zaida, on archer support hero pairs, like anything which is dealing damage by normal attacks and crits is great, right? So Heart of Kamasi, unfortunately my Heart of Kamasi is only level 1. Of course, higher levels you're gonna get more buffs you are going to get, but unfortunately getting the desired artifacts from normal pools is not that easy, right? So don't look at the defensive stats. When you're gonna use Heart of Kamasi, you will understand why it's important to have these defensive stats, because if you're gonna stay alive longer, you're gonna proc your skill way more and more damage you are to deal, right? So another really good artifact which you want to have even if you are not archer players. The next artifact which I actually want to speak is, of course, Shadowblades, right? One of like another archer artifacts. There is big similarities with Shadowblades and with the Phoenix Eye for mages, because it's kind of similar, but Phoenix Eye is of course for mages and Shadowblades is for archers. Shadowblades is like one of the most basic artifacts for archer gameplay. Its main job is to deal damage, and I think like it's really similar to Phoenix Eye, right? So if I will compare Shadowblades with the Heart of Kamasi, well, if you asked me that question a couple of months ago, I would say Shadowblades, but right now, the amount of normal attack heroes we are getting, I think Heart of Kamasi is still better. But it doesn't really mean that you should not get happy if you get Shadowblades, because I think Shadowblades is good enough to use, right? Plus, I think it's normal to use like multiple marches of the same type, so if you have Heart of Kamasi, if you have Shadowblades, you already have 2 great legendary artifacts for your archer hero pair, right? And yeah, it's like basic, nothing really important attributes or really important additional buffs for this artifact, and I think you should be really happy whenever you are getting this artifact as a normal pool, right? And especially if you are a free-to-play player. The next artifact, is time for us to speak more cavalry, is Kingslayer, right? I think Kingslayer is the best artifact from here for cavalry players, not only because you are getting a lot of attack stats, and I wanted to say best artifact in terms of pure offensive stats, right? And it deals damage to 5 enemy legions. Damage factor is 3.6. If Kingslayer that did not have the additional buffs, it would be in same category as Phoenix Eye or Shadowblades, right? They are pure offensive artifacts, and Kingslayer kinda looks similar. But if you're gonna scroll down, you will see something unique, right? Legions belonging to the other lords with less than 10% units remaining will be immediately defeated. This is really important, right? This is what makes this artifact unique, and this is what makes this artifact the best cavalry artifact from the normal pools. So if you are a cavalry player, you have to be really happy if you are getting Kingslayer and more levels on this skill, because I think in general skill damage factor is most important for cavalry gameplay. Another cavalry artifact, which is the lesser version of Kingslayer, is Sorland's Blade. The difference between Sorland's Blade and Kingslayer is that Sorland's Blade is getting Legion March speed bonus, and the skill is like not similar but kinda similar. If Kingslayer was dealing damage to more legions, Sorland's Blade is dealing damage to only 2 enemy legions in an arc, physical damage type 3.2k, and another additional attribute grants your legion haste, march speed bonus 20% for 10 seconds. I would not say you should be super happy whenever you're gonna get Sorland's Blade, but depending on your gameplay, right? Maybe you are playing with the 5 Cavalry March and you are lacking your Sorland's Blade and finally you get it. Of course you're gonna be super happy. But in general, I think there is a much more better artifacts for Cavalry than Sorland's Blade. And for the better artifacts, I would say a better artifact for cavalry, even storm arrows is kinda better in my opinion, right? The most unique thing about storm arrows, of course, the buffs, which is great for being offensive player, but this blink skill is just simply amazing. I think if you have storm arrows, you can be the nightmare for every single enemy farmer, because you can actually teleport through rivers, through mountains, depending on terrain, right? And the teleport range is 30, and your legions gain rampage damage dealt 24% for 4 seconds, as that's like after teleportation, I guess, right? I think this is one of the best utility mobility artifact for cavalries. Personally, this is my most used cavalry artifact whenever I'm trying to fight or kill some farmers. You're gonna have a lot of fun using storm arrows. Like, trust me, you are fast playing with cavalry, you can blink, you have offensive attributes, you have even 4% damage dealt, which is really high. So basically, this is like, if you're gonna ask me, in my opinion, storm arrows and Kingslayer is kinda same tier for cavalry players. So like, whenever I got my storm arrows, I was really happy because I understood that I would have a lot of fun in Call of Dragons with this artifact, right? The next artifact which I want to speak is the mage artifact, which is Tear of Arbon. Tear of Arbon is really interesting artifact, right? Defensive stats, magic unit defense, legion defense, and the unique thing about this artifact, it's great because you can use, like, if your alliance members are having a lot of Tear of Arbons, it actually heals a lot, right? It's healing 5 friendly legions in a circle, and max level you're gonna heal 800, duration 8 seconds, which is quite a lot, right? So if you don't have another artifact and you got Tear of Arbon, of course you're gonna use it. You won't gonna deal a lot of damage as a mage player with Tear of Arbon, but at least you will be tanky enough to survive a lot of things during the battlefield. And plus, trust me, your alliance members will be always happy and always friendly with you, because you are not only healing yourself, but you are healing a lot of members together. And if you're gonna use Tear of Arbon's skill with like a couple of friendly alliance members together, trust me, you guys will heal a lot during PvP, especially during wars. It's not an offensive artifact, it's defensive support artifacts, and if we're gonna categorize it as a defensive artifact, I think for mages, this is one of the best defensive artifacts we are having currently in the game, especially for free-to-play friendly players, right? The next artifact, which we can actually already start talking about more utility artifacts, that's Staff of Prophet, right? This is the most unique artifact we are currently having in the game. It's a mage artifact, it's magic unit HP, legion HP, but trust me, you don't care about the stats, about this artifact, because you will never fight with Staff of Prophet. Never fight doesn't mean never use, because I think if you have this artifact, you will use it many times. So what it means, right? Basically, you will be able to teleport not only your legion, but your friendly alliance members to a really long distance if you have your friendly alliance member maybe cavalry march there. So you're gonna click on this guy and you can see how it happens, right? It's channeling. After channeling ends, your alliance members and you also is being teleported. So I'm pretty sure you guys have seen so many videos about Staff of Prophet in YouTube about Call of Dragons. I think this is like one of the most unique artifacts we have in the game currently. I'm not saying that try to level up this artifact, but trust me, you want to have at least one of them to unlock Staff of Prophet, because you never know how you're gonna use it, right? Maybe your alliance members want to use it for you and they will be really happy if you got it, right? The next artifact which I actually want to speak is Springbird Feather. You might say this is like one of the worst artifacts in the game, even for cavalry or anything, but the one most important use for this artifact is the cavalry gameplay. When you are using 5 marches and you want to sync speed of every single hero pair, trust me, you're gonna use this artifact, right? It's all about march speed, it's all about haste, it's all about flying around the battlefield and being as fast as possible. And I think being fast in terms of march speed is really important, especially for cavalry players, because that's their most unique and most important skills and attribute, because if you are not fast with your cavalry, you won't gonna be able to play the game in general. So Springbird Feather, not great, not amazing, but nice artifact to have if you are cavalry player, right? Manastone Hunter, again, I would put Springbird Feather and Manastone Hunter in the same tier. I would not say it's important artifact because you're gonna have chance to create mana stones and blah blah blah. No, it's great because you can use with cavalry 5 march in order for you to sync up the speed of your cavalry troops, because running together as a one unit is really important for your 5 cavalry marches, right? The next one is Woman Hailor. That's the cavalry artifact, which is a mobility artifact. I would not say this is the most important artifact for here, but there is a lot of use lately for cavalry players. So how they are using it, you're gonna blink, you're gonna go rush in, deal some damage, and automatically you're gonna blink back. That's the main idea about this artifact, and I think I have been seeing a lot of cavalry players using this artifact, which is nice, right? At first, I think first couple of seasons almost nobody was using this artifact, but lately everybody understood how good it is for especially cavalry gameplay. The range is 30, damage is 30% damage to the legend after skill was casted, so there is also some additional buffs with this artifact. I would not say it's a main priority, but it's nice to have because it's another artifact which gonna give you a lot of fun during the cavalry gameplay, right? In terms of like gathering artifacts, of course, I won't gonna speak about Lucius Horn, I won't gonna speak about Ancient Tree Roots, even like Urata's Wrath, because I think Lucius Horn and Ancient Tree of Roots, even like Bloodblade Banner, Lucius Horn, Kurata's Wrath, Ancient Tree Roots, Breath of the Forest is the artifacts, and even Mad Goblin Boom is the artifacts that you won't gonna be really happy if you're gonna unlock them from here, especially for as a free-to-play player, because of course you want to have as much offensive artifacts or even defensive ones as possible, right? And Kurata's Wrath is not either, it's like peacekeeping artifact. Mad Goblin, Lucius Horn, and Ancient Tree Roots is simply for a gathering, and the next one, which is Breath of the Forest and Bloodblade Banner, these two artifacts, like this one is for rallying, this one is for garrison, so if you're gonna have at least 1 copies of them, it will be fine, but I still would say that don't get too excited if you are getting them, right? And in general, I think the top artifacts from normal pools are Deathless Vines, Phoenix Eye, Heart of Kamasi, Kingslayer, Shadowblades, what else, right? What else? Storm Arrows, maybe, Fang of Ashkari, I think I mentioned it already. So this is like the main artifacts, which is great to get from here. I hope this video will be interesting for you guys, especially for my free-to-play players, because I have been asked a lot of questions about artifacts lately, right? Thanks for watching. I hope everybody's having an amazing day, morning and night. We are going to see each other really soon. Bye bye and luck.